So, shall we start?
Yeah, I would say so.
Very good. Okay, so I would like to give everybody a warm welcome, wish everybody a warm welcome. To anyone joining us from the US, I would say good morning. For anybody there joining in from Asia, I think it's time to say good evening. And to you in Europe, good afternoon. We are enjoying a little bit of a heat wave here, so if any of us start to sweat, it's probably not the content, but it's probably the weather. So please bear with us. I hope that it's going to go well and that we have constant air conditioning today. Today we are here to talk about the new normal of travel, and from a passenger's experience perspective, how to bring back trust, confidence, and enjoyment, something that is currently lacking in the market. I'm very happy that all of you have decided to join today. It's high summer for a lot of you in the Northern Hemisphere, so I really appreciate it, as do we all. And let's get into it. I would like to just take a couple of minutes, not too long, to explain the format of the event. If I may, we are recording this Skype call, so basically all of the presentation and all of the content from the speakers will be recorded, and we're going to make it available on LinkedIn and via email after the event. If you have any questions or comments throughout the presentation, please write them into the chat function on the left-hand side of your Skype. We have muted all of the participants just for logistical reasons, because we would like to make sure that we have a clean recording here. But if you want to ask something, just type it in and I'll try and process your requests and your questions, and we'll try and answer them as best we can. If we don't get to all of them, that's also okay. We will deal with those and write them into the session, the chat function below when we post this on LinkedIn, okay? So that if you want to have your question referred to you, you can also write your name below. Not all of the names are visible on Skype, so write your name. You can also write your company if you'd like to be not anonymous. Otherwise, you can remain anonymous as well. We will be talking today to 3 experts, and then I would like to pepper the questions throughout the presentation. You can ask anything you want at any time, and we'll try and deal with it. And then we'll also do a little last wrap-up question at the end. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce to you Tanja Langer, Laura Oster, and Jan Ganse. And I would like to hand over to you, Tanja, to introduce yourself a little bit. Welcome.
Thanks, Erin, and welcome everyone on the call. I'm very glad that you all are taking part in our online conference today. My name is Tanja Langer. I work as a consultant and customer experience expert at Lufthansa Systems Airline Consulting. I have several years of working experience in customer centricity and led major initiatives and projects focusing on customer experience and journey.
Hello, everyone. I'm also happy to introduce myself. Welcome, everybody, to today's web conference, How to Enjoy Travel in the New Normal. My name is Laura, and I have 13 years of professional experience working in the tourism industry. I'm also an airline consultant working for Lufthansa Systems, and I'm looking forward to having a lively discussion with all of you.
Hello everyone, my name is Jan Ganse. I am heading the domain passenger experience at Lufthansa Systems, which most of you probably know for its product line Board Connect, the wireless IFE solution that is out in the market. So I'm really happy that we have set up this conference today to talk a bit about travel in the new normal and how to make flying more enjoyable. I feel very passionate about that, and I hope we'll have some very exciting 60 minutes that we all enjoy a lot.
And last but not least, I am Erin Beilhartz, and I have the pleasure to moderate this discussion today. Also have a good background in the travel industry. I've been working for about a decade in in-flight products, onboard and travel chain technology solutions, and I will do the best to get through everything and lead these guys into a very interesting discussion today with you. To go on to the agenda of what we will discuss, we will start with current market development. which I think we all know, but there's been some developments, so hear it again. The changes in the customer preferences and customer behaviors and the fear that they're experiencing. Travel experience during COVID-19, what exactly, breaking down the process, is involved with travel during this very new environment. And then last but not least, we're going to talk about the future trends in a more medium term outlook, if this COVID crisis stays with us longer than we want, and how to really make air travel enjoyable again for passengers so that they fill up the flights, fill up the skies, fill up the airports, fill up the resorts, etc. So I would like to sort of hand over to Jan.
Thanks, Erin.
Start off. Thank you.
Hey guys. So of course you're in the industry, know that very well, and I don't want to bore you too much with the nuisance details of the latest IATA report. And that's what you see here. It's kind of like, you see that red line? It showed the dip in passenger numbers, or air passenger volumes, really revenue passenger kilometers. It was displayed here. That graph alone doesn't say a lot. Yes, it crashed, but what does it mean? And you see on the right side, and that's a picture I took, I think it was at the end of April, of an empty terminal building. I felt like I was alone, and it came out of a doomsday movie. Walking through a terminal that has hardly any people, and all the shops were closed. That was end of April, not too long ago. And when I'd flown just a couple of weeks before that, everything was normal. So in a really rapid time, the industry we love, the industry we work in, we live and breathe, totally crashed and came to a standstill. Looking at the next slide, it shows you the average flight per week, and a good display on that one is also on a similar flight. I think it was just a couple of days or weeks later. The big billboard, the big board at Frankfurt Airport, that typically only shows the flights for the next couple of hours. On that specific day, on those 3 billboard tiles that you had, you could see all the flights for the entire day, plus they added trains just to fill it up a little bit. So you could zoom in there, you'd actually see trains to Hamburg, trains to Cologne, trains to some other locations. It just shows how scary it is, from an overcrowded airspace, overcrowded airports, overcrowded runways, to literally nothing, a big emptiness. Clearly things have recovered a little bit. You see those lines, the blue and the red one, tilting upwards a little bit, but not a lot just yet. I think at that time we were about at 4 or 5% of the flight schedules of most airlines. Now we're on the 20-25% mark to what it was just last year. So flight numbers also insanely down to what they were before. And on the next slide, as I said, I don't want to bore you too much with something you already know. It shows an even more traumatic thing, especially for airlines. You already saw a number of flights went down, but what you see here, and that's really an interesting slide, the blue dots are the load factors that you have on those aircraft. And what you have on the red dots is the load factors on June 2019. So it compares June 2020 to June 2019, which in most cases, June 2019 was the highest load factors airlines ever had in the regions Latin America, Asia Pacific, Europe, North America, Middle East, and Africa. And now in June 2020, pretty much across the board, with the exception of Latin America, we have the lowest seat factor ever. And combine that with the lowest number of flight ever, shows you just how traumatic the situation is. Yes, it's improving a little bit. Someone I value very much, Seth Miller, from posts on Twitter frequently at TSA screening numbers, where he kind of shows how many people in the US have been through TSA screening points. And I think the things he posted just a couple of days ago, it was about, I think, 10, 15, or maybe 20% of the amount of people that you would see on a typical day, which you see last year, you see on TSA screening points today. So yet another data point that just shows how traumatic the current situation is for our airline industry. Some airlines went to and removed the seats altogether from the aircraft because cargo is still an essential part, and just took the seats out and made those passenger aircraft fly as cargo planes. Practice, as the Lufthansa guys used to say, a word mixture out of freighter and passenger aircraft.
That's really crazy. I know that we're all feeling this. What do you think, Laura, are customers who are traveling feeling at the moment, going through this empty airports and doomsday kind of creepy situation?
Yeah, Erin, thanks for asking, because I believe that's a crucial question. And from our perspective, the customer is currently overwhelmed with various feelings and other influencing factors. Many are just insecure about the current processes, while others are even afraid, for example, of getting infected. And we also know many passengers that are just annoyed, since booking a journey and getting all the relevant information is very, very time consuming. And all of these negative feelings and aspects lead to the fact that traveling during Corona is perceived with great skepticism. So unfortunately, this leads to a loss of customer confidence.
That's totally true, Laura. And you all may probably ask yourself why we are pointing out this, since it seems to be totally obvious. But we as consultants experience that there is still not enough attention on the customer's voice, and we still see a lack of deep understanding of our passengers. The confidence in traveling again is not yet restored, which is shown by the low passenger load factors just mentioned by Jan, even though many flights are starting back up again. So it is of utmost importance for you to step into your customer's shoes and really walk yourself through their journey, especially concentrating on their emotions at each step.
Well, with the evolution of the virus, we face two types of needs. New needs, which are labeled in orange on our presentation, and the old needs, which are labeled in blue. And the new ones didn't exist before, like probably the most prominent one, remain healthy. So as I stated before, passengers are afraid of getting infected by COVID-19. And there's a very interesting passenger survey conducted by IATA, and it's demonstrating that 84% of all passengers are afraid to travel until the virus is contained. And I'm going to link this study in the link page afterward to provide you with some more insights about that.
Another new need is also about being flexible and secured. The most important thing is to take out the risk of buying a ticket. Passengers have to be absolutely clear about the process of how they get their money back. So airlines have to explain simply how and when passengers get their money back.
Yeah, that's really a crucial point. But let's also cover the old needs that existed before but have become way more important to the pandemic, like having access to real-time information. Currently, travelers are really flooded with inconsistent information, unclear messages, and short-time updates across the entire journey. So having the latest and up-to-date information at their fingertips is really crucial via whatever channel the traveler uses.
Also, everything is about enjoying hassle-free traveling. Even in pre-corona times, passengers want to enjoy a seamless, holistic, end-to-end travel experience without any disruptions and stressful moments.
Yeah, that's right. And travelers are also bothered by outdated services, and we can see a clear demand for self-services and mobile service.
So Jan, I think you had a survey that you wanted to do.
Yes, I ran into some technical problems right now. Someone could please post the survey in the chat. My laptop just froze, or my Teams channel froze.
All right, let's move on then for time's sake, and if we have it later, we can put it in. We'll work on it, okay? And then keep going. So let me move to you then, Tanya. If we were going to walk a mile in the passenger's shoes and really explain what the passenger is feeling and their emotions in this time, how would you say the passenger is experiencing all of these touch points?
And this is exactly what we are now going to do. We put ourselves in the passenger's shoes and walk the extra mile together.
Yeah. Traveling in the times of Corona has been quite stressful for most of us. So let's look at the touch point before we actually travel. Customer perspective, and I'll be the one walking the shoes of the traveler right now. So it kind of like starts already before you book your travel. Where can I really go? What are the restrictions that I have to worry about, and where can I look it up? And most importantly, will they possibly change from the time I book until I actually need to travel? Which, to the second point, if that does happen and I can't travel to that location anymore because all of a sudden it's banned or my flight's canceled, will I get my money back? You've seen, especially here in Germany, and much how it's in other countries, a lot of very public awareness on airlines not refunding quickly enough. So that certainly is a worry, that if I book a flight, especially with my family, I'd probably worry about that. Will I get my money back on time? And then if something goes wrong, can I buy insurance? Will the airline take me back? Some airlines have offered already that I will be brought back to my home country. And coming to the very last point, where do I find accurate, up-to-date information that tell me what to expect and what will happen and what do I really need to know? So those are kind of like the key things when I put myself in a traveler's shoes. And I've only been traveling within Germany and Austria and a bit of other European countries that always come to mind and make me think about it, especially the kind of, where do I get up-to-date information and how does information reach me? Is there some kind of push information?
These are all very good points, Jan. So the big question is, what is not working yet? So as Jan already mentioned from his experience, it's all about communication. There's a lack of consistent, simple, and real-time information. Customers are just overwhelmed, but at the same time, not finding the information they really need. So now, this is the time to promote each other across the industry. We really have to ensure consistent, relevant information flows. And also, there's nothing on financial security. It is not clear how and when to get the money back. Passengers are worried about airlines not paying them back their money in a timely manner. So, what is a timely manner? Here again, you will need to manage your customers' expectations, and timely manner refers to customer protection laws in the country of sale. But if you are not able to meet these, it is better to be transparent, inform your customers, and talk about future dates where you could refund.
I think, Tanya, these are all great points, and the key message we are trying to bring to you is that the time has come to stop finger pointing between the various industry players. We are all partners, and we are all sitting in one boat, from smaller travel agencies, from tour operators, airlines, airports, buses, hotels, and so on. And funnily enough, most of the time, our customers don't even distinguish between us. So we are the one providing their one and only travel experience, and so it's up to us to collaborate and succeed together in turning around this crisis. And instead of discussing who's owning the customer or who should provide which information, we need to take responsibility and get the information chaos solved. And I believe only with an holistic information and communication approach, we really do have a chance to overcome this crisis.
So, Jan, if we could turn back to you, how is it feeling then on the aircraft? What was your experience there?
Well, before we get on the aircraft, let's talk a bit about the airport, Erin, if that's okay. Coming to the point, I finally booked my travel and then I have to go to the airport. And what will I find there? Is that another piece of worry? And yes, it has been to a large extent. The mask needed, have to wear the mask all the time. I have to worry about being in big groups. I have to worry about, has everything disinfected? Is it clean? Like you walk to the security. The tray that I touched, there was a person before me touching it. Has it been cleaned? Has it been disinfected? All those things are kind of like worries around when I get to the airport or even at destination. Simple things like, are the shops open? Or can I buy something to drink? Or will I starve of thirst during my wait? Lots of airlines have already implemented some kind of COVID testing, which I think is nice. Where is it? Find it. I remember when I went to Frankfurt Airport, when they opened the COVID testing station, I asked around, where can I find it? And only the fourth person was finally able to show it to me. I now know where it is, which is good. But really it comes again to the information that I'm lacking. And how can I take some uncertainty out of the travel by providing the right set of information? This whole thing of security, again, is one very interesting piece. How much luggage can I take for security? I usually didn't bother too much about it, but now at least some airports have implemented a one piece of luggage only policy. So I can't take my trolley and my laptop back. I can only take one of the two and have to worry about, again, checking stuff in. Do I have enough time to do that? Well, usually I don't, because I'm kind of late all the time. But now I have to factor this in, and I have to know up front that this is the case.
So what are the extra precautions that passengers are taking at the moment in order to prepare themselves? So do you guys have any, Laura, maybe you have some experience?
Well, I mean, the passenger is willing, like, to do the best to overcome with the current crisis, like doing all of the physical and social distancing that is possible. But when it comes to airport, he's just unsure how to behave. And I mean, even though many measures have been implemented, we see still a considerable room for improvement. As we already said in the beginning, we discussed the importance of information so heavily, but also at the airport, the passenger is confronted with a lack of consistent and timely information. And the same comes true when we are talking about transparent processes. So, for example, even though airlines using social media extremely to inform, but there are still so many questions outside about the cleaning and the hygiene concept for both airline and aircraft. So it seems that the customer still doesn't know what to expect, and that's especially true when it comes to high-risk touch points. And yeah, while I'm talking about high-risk touch points, that's another major area for improvement, because at the airport we still have a lot of personal touch points, which are also then again related to the risk of getting infected.
So Tanya, if I may turn it to you, what exactly do airlines need to do now in this situation to adhere to this new normal?
Again, it is all about collaboration. Airlines, airports, all the players involved have to really work together. They have to talk to each other, collaborate, and align their processes. So, example, they can share best practices and, as I mentioned before, improve their collaboration, because this is the most important thing at the moment. And also, it might be the time for lobbying to achieve consistency within your reach and across your region. Also, another very important factor is about providing transparency. As already mentioned, there are quite a lot of insecurities from our passengers, customers. So the information has to be really transparent. They have to talk about hygiene concepts, or even mark areas that are cleaned, and provide these information in real time and as simple as possible. Also, on the other side, airlines and airports can really encourage their customers to use the self-service options which are already in place. For example, also prompt them to really download your travel app.
Sorry, I was on mute. Pardon me. If we go then to you, Jan, again, what is the experience then on board? We got through the airport experience, but you've been on several flights. How does it feel when you're actually traveling now in the cabin?
Yeah, let's come to the main event, the onboard event. And you're right, I've been on flights since April again, and I could see an evolution of how airlines have already tweaked the experience to make it better. There's still stuff we can do, and we'll come to that in a second. But they've already done a lot. I think I like it that now there is a clear policy, a mask is needed. I know some passengers don't like it. Fine, but I think it is necessary and it makes sense to wear a mask. I highly promote this to everyone also here who's listening to us. Please wear your mask whenever you can. It is a valid safety precaution. When it comes to the other elements of the flight, has the cabin been cleaned? I care about that. I mean, cabin cleanliness was a very important topic before, and now it's even a topic on, has it been disinfected? What information can I provide? And I see some airlines actually make it part of their announcement. We have increased our cleaning, without giving many details, so I still don't know if stuff has been cleaned. I couldn't see a noticeable difference, to be honest. But that's certainly an important thing that I care about. Also, I care about middle seat free. Right now, the load factors are not high. Works most of the time. But going forward, yeah, it would be nice. Does it make a difference? Well, honestly, probably not. And I don't think airlines can afford it for a while. But let's keep it there for right now as a train of thought. Changes to the ward service, menus being packaged, bottles being closed instead of handing out glasses to drink. So all those things airlines have already thought of and try to help us to improve the situation. Also wear masks most of the time. I've seen some pictures of airlines that are in and put their crew in full protective gear. That's probably a bit overblown. I think a mask is just the right level of doing it.
But let's say, for instance, you, Laura, do you have any information about empirical studies or evidence regarding what are the main concerns of the passengers? Where are they feeling particularly uncomfortable, and where do airlines need to really drill down to solve these issues?
Yes, Erin. So we have to differentiate between being on board and being at the aircraft. And when it comes to the airport, being in a crowded bus or on the way to the airport is like the main concerns. And on top three, it's like the queuing issue, like queuing at the check-in or security or border control. That's really a main concern. And top three is that they are not really clear about if they can use the restroom facilities when it comes to the airport. When we are talking about sitting on board or sitting or being on the airplane, we feel that sitting next to someone who might be infected is really like the top or the main concern. And again, using like the restroom and the toilets and breathing the air on the plane is also a major issue in this regard.
Yeah, sure. What do you think that airlines have done properly up until now? Where do you think that they're really excelling? Jan, maybe you could take this one.
Sorry, the question just appeared and now it's gone again. Can you read it again for me?
No, this was my own question. Sorry. I just wanted to know what exactly have airlines been doing well then, from your perspective? And they've made a lot of changes, or what have you seen either when you've been traveling or when you've Googled or seen articles? What are airlines doing properly?
What I really like are the initiatives on cabin air healthiness. Is the air that they very much promote the HEPA filters and how that gives you a very good clean air in the aircraft. I think that is kind of nice what they're doing there. Keep educating that, keep talking about it. I also like how they've efficiently improved the board service. From my first flight, there was a bottle of water that was handed out, and now it's the disinfectant wipe you get when you're board. And after that, it's again a full meal that you're getting that is kind of covered. You have to take off the cover yourself, but at least it gets closer to some kind of regular board service with every time that I fly. So they really look at, okay, what can we do, and keep increasing and keep getting better all the time. So on that one, I really have to applaud the airlines that I've flown with, that things are going in the right direction. Not quite there. We talk about that in the future trend section just a little bit, but I certainly see that airlines are paying attention to it and driving it into a better direction week by week.
Yeah, and if I can add a hint here, because you were talking about the air quality, and that's probably a good point, because what from our point of view is not working yet is the fact that airlines are not seen as a reliable source of information. So we know that there are so many attempts to trying to educate people how the HEPA filters are working, and that the quality is not dangerous. But coming back to another study, there it said that over 50% of the travelers still believe that air quality is dangerous. So that's really an important point to be clear, that even if you try to communicate exactly, that there is still a risk of not getting the information out if you're not perceived as a reliable source of information.
How is the crew communicating differently now during their service with regards to safety processes, which didn't exist before?
I think that the biggest change for me personally is to see the service with the mask behind. You can't see the smile. That is kind of something that I've always liked very much, especially on on flights of our mother company and many other airlines alike, of course. The smile when they hand you your food, and that is gone, but they try to make up for it in friendliness, I have seen. And they're trying to be very attentive to you, which I also like very much. But they also communicate very clearly. I remember one instance where I just gave them my glass back and the next person came and said, put your mask back on. So they certainly give you the feeling they're paying attention and they still care about you. So that really, I really think makes a difference.
And I think what is also a really good point is about like seeing it from the customer perspective. For customers, I think it's really a major step. The things you mentioned, that the staff is wearing masks and all this, but also they really have to feel safe. And how can they feel safe? It is also about make it visible to them, make it visible for me as a customer that, for example, my seat is cleaned, or that the tray or the surfaces I'm touching, that they are cleaned. So as we mentioned earlier, like we are all known it from hotels. For example, they have like sanitization certificates. So for example, they fold the last piece of the toilet paper to assure that that no one has used the toilet paper since cleaning. So maybe this would also be a good idea to really make visible marks, make the customer visible that the seat is being cleaned. Or also the crew could include the cleaning topics in their safety messages and really directly talk about it.
I have, thank you, Tanya. I have a question that I would shoot back to you from the audience here. I hear a lot about what airlines are doing, but what are the things that travelers need to do to protect themselves?
I think one of the major things passengers should really do right at the moment is really use the self-service options which are already in place. We see that there are still a lot of passengers who, I don't know, not aware or not even know how really to do like mobile check-in or online check-in on all this stuff. But I think it's really important that they are being encouraged and they are really willed to use the self-service options.
Sorry, Erin, there's one thing I'd like to add that if I may. Since you asked the question was asked, also a personal request: cut the crew some slack. They're also hit hard by COVID on a personal and a professional level, and they're also burdened by having to wear a mask. You know, it makes sense to wear a mask. I'm not advocating against it, quite the opposite, but it still is kind of a burden. They still try to do their best at their job, so. Personal question, do cut them on some slack, please, as a request.
Thank you for mentioning that. I think that's absolutely a very valid thing to mention, and I'm glad that you did. So thanks. We're going to get in next to a little bit of the future trends of what you guys see as happening, going with a little bit of a longer look out, maybe the next 6 months or the next couple of years. I know that IATA has and maybe the World Health Organization have been a little bit less confident with regards to when this vaccine is going to be available and how this will impact our industry and travel and quarantines and all of these things. So in light of this, we're going to look into the future, how to really future-proof our airlines and to adapt to this new normal, which seems to be not a temporary new normal, but the new normal that we're going to use. So perhaps Laura, if I could send it over to you. Yes. What do we expect future?
Well, we see different future trends, and the good thing about it that from our point of view, these are all enablers that help us to overcome with a crisis. And for example, there are some developments in the market that are suitable to reduce the physical interaction. And be more precise, I'm talking about biometrics and face recognition in particular. They are already in the process of radically transforming the passenger experience at the airport. So, and it's not about making it only quicker, but also much less stressful and more secure. And the concept is already there. So we are not talking about like miracle future. No, the concept is there, and currently being tested, for example, in Los Angeles. And I personally believe that the travel identification will become increasingly important to reduce the friction caused by physical touch points. And just as we tried to make clear at the beginning, put yourself into the shoes of the customer, the concept is so simple. So travelers authenticate themselves once and for all, either on their mobile device or on their tablet before departure. And after that, no more need for a passport or boarding pass, which is great. And once at the airport, the identity of passengers can be confirmed by cameras that are installed at the various locations, including baggage drop-off or even access points to the airline lounge. And just think about it. This has significant potential to reduce queuing and bottlenecks, and it's even possible to imagine a way of paying for your duty-free shopping or a snack by just looking at the camera. And I know Aaron said in our talk before that actually in China this is already becoming the new norm even before Corona. And I'm sure that the topic of data protection and the question of what is happening with the passengers' data is a major challenge in this regard. But from my point of view, now is really the momentum for all of you to see this development as an opportunity, because I strongly believe that the passengers' willingness for sharing personal data and get their buy-in into this technology will probably never be bigger, because now they see a really concrete benefit for reducing the infection risk. And yeah, it might be the right time to increase your lobbying efforts in this regard.
Yeah, Laura, I kind of hope I agree. Now, I hope you're right with that hypothesis. And there's one thing that's going to be an interesting test for that, and that is a health screening and testing. And why do I say that? Well, probably one of the most important trends that we need to see in the future being realized is to find a way to identify people who are infected very quickly and make sure they don't enter the airport, they don't enter the aircraft. How can I do that? Well, we need to have efficient tests that are quickly and cheap, they're cost efficient, sounds better than cheap. And there has to be a way to track it, a good app or a digital solution, of course. And then you have to be willing, and that's the part that I'm kind of cautiously optimistic about. The traveler has to be willing to share that information with the various stakeholders in the travel chain, the airports, the hotels, the airlines. Let's see they're really willing to do that, because that's going to be a key enabler to give us a joyful experience again, making sure only tested and non-infected people to, as much as possible, enter the travel chain.
I totally agree with you, Jan. That's a really good point. I just want to add that this might be also a solution for the airport staff and all the crew members, that they are getting regularly tested. And this might come to ensure that really, like you mentioned, everyone at the airport is like infection free. So which would give all of the people in this building or at the airport the feeling of being safe. I know that at the moment this is just a future trend, or we do not have like a concrete picture of this, but I think it is really important that we all have to bear this in mind and think about how we can approach this in our region, in our company, and also what could be preconditions for the implementation.
So talking about with regards to what you just said, not only do customers now have to ensure that everybody is tested and the travel chain is clean, passengers have to look after their own cleanliness and also look after their own research with regards to travel, which is an extra layer of complexity. Airlines need to test employees, airports need to test. Airlines also need to, and airports need to test all of their vendors and have this chain set up. This is really a very complex safety chain that you're talking about. What is the burden on all of the different players in this industry, and what is the burden on government then? Is this maybe something that should be taken over by maybe a lobby function or something else? Whose responsibility would it be to make sure that everybody is corona-free when they enter an airport? Is this going to? This cannot be a local solution, I think.
I think, in my opinion, this is a very good point, which we cannot clarify at the moment, but of course, which have to be clarified in future. Who is responsible for that? Are there any regulations and all this? So I think it is very important that all these points you just mentioned, all these topics are now being answered, or at least the people or the players should try to find answers to these questions. Because I think it can be, of course, governmental like regulations which have to be applied, but on the other side, airports still can decide what they really want to do, how to ensure that their area is like infection free.
Okay. I have actually a question from the audience that I would ask. I don't know which one of you would like to take it, but the question is, what are the biggest blockers for customers or the industry in general from recovering at the moment? Do you?
From my point of view, the biggest blocker currently is the risk of getting in quarantine. So I know another study where it said that 84% of the travelers are really concerned about being quarantined or being in quarantine while traveling. And I think this is like a really, really big issue, because there's not so much we as an industry can do, or from a customer perspective, there is not so many measures we can set up in order to minimize the risk.
But does that mean when there are no more travel restrictions and no more quarantines in certain areas, that travel should just pick up? Because I think we also are seeing that there's a general reluctance to be with other people, which we've talked about.
Definitely, there's also a reluctance, as we said it before, like being in a proximity with other travelers. But when you were talking about the biggest blocker for the recovery after all, I still would say that being in quarantine is like the most dangerous one.
Laura, I partly agree. I think actually it's the quarantine, yes, but it's more than that. It's the uncertainty of the travel. Will the regulations change while I'm away? Will I be stuck in the country because all of a sudden the country I'm visiting or the region I'm visiting is called a hotspot and I can't get out of it again? So I think it's the whole block around uncertainty that creates, to an extent, fear and stops people from traveling. So until things have calmed down and we have a vaccine, which I really, really hope will be soon. But like you said, Aaron, the WHO said it might take a while. Airlines will have to find ways to take that worry away one way or the other.
I would like to move a little bit over towards technology now. Tanya, maybe we could ask what kind of, we mentioned communication topics before. If you could talk about maybe technology, how it could help with self-service or automation. Do you want to take this question?
Yes, of course. One of the most important things to actually reduce physical touch point and interaction is about self-service options. We see that even before the coronavirus outbreak, many airlines were already investing in major digital transformation projects, focusing on touchless and self-service solutions to really improve a seamless journey for the customers. And now, during crisis, all of these activities, they have to be consolidated, and passenger processes have to be further simplified and automated. And along the journey, as we already mentioned, there are quite many use cases to really emphasize on-demand services, cashless payment, and touchless self-service options. So, for example, one of the major trends in this area is at the moment bring your own device, which is empowering passengers to use their own electronic devices for every interaction on the journey. So besides mobile check-in or digital boarding passes, the whole journey, like including all purchases, services, entertainment offers, and interactions, might be controlled by the passengers using their own devices. And also, think about retail stores, restaurants, duty-free shops. They also can benefit from expanding the availability of digital order and delivery services.
Tanya, I really like that you mentioned bring your own device. I've been a long time advocating that this is something that passengers really want. And I think the two trends now come together to maybe create some kind of mega trend. Number one, you don't want to touch someone else's device, so your own device becomes really, really important to you. You just want to use that one for everything you can. And secondly, the need for updated information throughout your entire journey, even on the aircraft. And what you need is powerful digital platforms, digital transformations taking place so that you can actually make good use of it. And one key thing that I'd like to drop in here is, of course, wireless IFE Board Connect and how we've evolved it to a digital platform on board that allows passengers to interact with the crew or do meal ordering on board or other things that you could, where you can interface with some kind of solution that is on board, up to streaming video, of course, the core thing that we did with it, but the other things, crew to call the crew for attention, order something to drink, buy on board stuff. And here you're right, bring your own device could really be a very important key and very important to passengers. And we also probably see airlines making more and more use of their app because passengers now use it more. It could finally drive the digital transformation a lot.
Exactly, and this could really transform the whole passenger experience or the whole journey in a digital one.
Yeah, and I have a question from the... Oh, sorry, Laura. I have a question from the audience that I wanted to sneak in there. I thought it was the right time. What is the one thing, and I'm going to throw this to you, Jan, what is the one thing that will never be the same again for commercial aviation?
What's the one thing that will never be the same for commercial aviation? Now, I hope everything will go back to a similar thing that is not the same but different. I think for right now, my biggest worry is the ease of travel, where you kind of get to the airport and you kind of flown through the travel chain. You get on board of the aircraft and you seem to stop worrying because you've made the most important step. Your vacation starts, your business trip starts. That feeling of home when you travel, that kind of is taken away right now and replaced with, oh my God, am I going to get infected? Is something going to happen that I don't plan for? It's kind of changed the entire dynamics. So I'm hoping that will go back, and that is the thing I'm worried about most right now, on a personal level.
If I might add something regarding the trends, because in the beginning of our presentation we talked so much about the information and the importance of it, and what we see already that there are initiatives in attempts in the market that are aiming to provide travelers with a seamless information flow. So just think about chatbots or digital concierge, and all of them are using artificial intelligence, and I think that's a very useful ability because it has the power to massive analyze amounts of data, and some travel experts even believe that AI is the future of crisis management. And just again, put yourself in the shoes of the customer. So someone may be on the way to the airport before hearing that her flight has been delayed. With AI, we have the potential to offer an automatic solution for travelers, so automatically rebooking the flight, reschedule car service, or move away any reservation, or just think about one way forward. So AI bots could automatically book an appointment that works for the traveler for a health check, for example, or for a vaccine, or based on whatever required is for an upcoming trip. And therefore, I really believe in this technology, and I strongly think that now is time also for you guys out there to think about your investment. And I also would be interested to know how you see the future of this trend.
Okay, I had another question from the audience that I would like to just throw out there. Maybe you guys can all answer it a little bit. One after the other. You said it will be crucial for airlines to also see the crisis as a chance. Some companies may have been inspired to create new product lines or redesign existing products or services as a result of the pandemic. How will customer experience benefit from this development?
Well, my personal opinion about this, in the long term, customer experience will benefit from these developments. I mean, most of the airline's vision for digital transformation focuses on improving customer-related processes and implementing new technologies and innovation programs to engage with the passengers. And all of these developments are, from my point of view, enablers for a seamless passenger journey.
So then if I could add my own question on top of that, what are the then further developments to ancillary revenue potential then if all of this digitalization comes? Maybe, Jan, I could throw this to you. Let your mind wander here a little bit and tell us what do you think?
And one thing that frequently comes to mind is ever since I've joined the industry, not ever since I've joined it, but for quite some time, we've been talking about true personalization. Know your passenger along the travel chain, even on board of the aircraft. You sit down, your screen greets you with your name, and you have a truly personalized travel experience. We've kind of fallen short on implementing this for many, many reasons over the past years. Maybe this crisis, with the need to focus more on the passenger and also an increased need of information, up-to-date information, will finally push this so that this vision of the fully personalized individual travel experience actually has a chance to become true now. I'd really love to see that, and that would be good fun.
I really hope so as well, and I've done a lot of preliminary work on this topic as well, so it's very near to my heart. But indeed, the implementation, it always takes longer than the things that people can dream. Of course, I think everybody on this call probably feels the same way. Moving along, I have the next question that I would like to throw out to each of you. Are airlines adapting their irregularity management policies, such as overbooking and flight cancellation, and how are they doing that? Maybe Tanya?
Of course, we see at the last months, airlines really try to build ad hoc measures to really improving the problem of short-term flight cancellations and so on. So they are already taking measures to really improve this. And what I think they should really see the crisis and really all these things which are mentioned, like irregularities, like disruptions and all this, like flight cancellations and all this, they should really see now the chance to find answers how it can look like in the future, how to adapt really their conditions, their booking conditions. So for short-term measures, we see that at the moment some airlines have increased their booking conditions, that they say it's cancellation free, that they are that passengers can cancel their flight or rebook their flight without any money to pay for. So they are already, like I mentioned, adapting their policies, but still they have to look on the future and think how really to implement these or transform these short-term measures into long-term measures.
Yeah, Tanya, interesting thought here, and then there's also the question also mentioned overbooking. Airlines over the past had some very good models on how much they could overbook a flight. It varied from destination to destination, or actually more departure to departure. And they've built those models over years and gained experience over experience on whether it worked out or not. With the COVID crisis and the uncertainties that come with it, all those data models actually go out the bin and out the window, and you have to start afresh. So you kind of need to get, and that's one of the key things you'd also want you to take away, make use of the data that you have, come up with new data models, collaborate across the industry to find more data points and make a different sense out of it than you did before, because the reality has changed. And overbooking probably is one of the key things where we will see data models for the need to change in the future.
Probably it's not only about different data models, but I'm wondering if there will turn out new business models. For example, so currently we distinguish between the legacy carriers and the low cost and probably the leisure carriers, but it might be very interesting to see what kind of different business models will be evolved with the outcome of COVID.
Okay, we are getting towards the end of the session now from a time perspective. So as the timekeeper, I'd like to just ask you, all three of you, if you could just recap the key takeaways that you want the audience to remember from this 1 hour that we spent together, and then I will go through maybe what they have in store for the upcoming events. Tanya, would you like to?
Yeah, of course. So our key takeaways for today's session. are short-term measures. We really ask all players to rethink and put in place and improve. So it is all about reducing physical contact and provide more self-service options, offering flexible booking options, return options, and insurances. And as mentioned, provide consistent real-time information flows. It is also about balancing the customer experience and the high level of comfort with all the necessary measures which have to be implemented in the long run. And also think about all the enhanced digital engagement and digital experience solutions. So these are, like for the ad hoc measures, really the most important ones.
Okay, great. Laura, Jan, do you have anything to add before we take over for the last remarks?
Yeah, just one remark. Thank you for listening. And I'd leave you with one thing, or two things, kind of. Collaboration across the shuttle train really now is more important than it was before, because we need to give our passengers, our guests, consistent information across all touch points. And we need to make use, or we can make use of this crisis as a solution, as an enabler for digital service that we've always wanted to implement. Because obviously the touch point will be more digital, and it's the best way to keep our guests informed. And therein really lies the chance that we now have.
Laura, any last remarks?
I also want to thank all of you for the participation, and I also saw that there are a lot of very good questions in the chat, and I'm hoping that we kind of stay in touch through our LinkedIn page and can kind of continue with the discussion afterwards.
Yeah, great. I would like to reiterate there were a couple of questions that we didn't get to. We will definitely address these in the LinkedIn follow-up session. Thank you all so much for taking your time to be with us today. We all had a great time, and hope that you can take something away that you can use for your own businesses. We have been using this. Could we put the slide ahead to the last slide, the upcoming events, please? This event is part of a series that we have launched as a result of being all in home office ourselves and working from home and dealing with these challenges, which I think a lot of you on the call can share. We have put together a series of events, and this is now I think the sixth one. Hold on, I'm going to. Okay. We have a couple of other events that are coming up as part of this series, and I'd like to draw your attention to them so that you can join as well or tell your colleagues. So we have revenue management and pricing in the new normal being held on August 18th. Then on August 25th, we're going to have the MRO and CAMRO event, turning the crisis into an opportunity. And then in September, we have a great event from our cybersecurity team of extra cybersecurity considerations in this market, which we know is very rife for hacks and security issues. And then in October, we're going to be delving into crew management with a similar hopefully large audience. It was really great having you here with us. We really appreciated you taking the time, and we appreciated, I appreciated hearing all of your questions, and also from our experts hearing all of your inputs. We could go back as well one slide, and if you would like to reach out to any of us, please do so. Directly. These are our LinkedIn profiles. You can just scan them with your phone, and I think we could leave this as the final slide. If you have any other questions, let us know or email at Lufthansa Systems, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.